You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News for Saturday, February 23rd. We have an article here from the Epoch Times. This is something that I was very interested in when I first heard about it. It's the story of a set of parents who held their 12 children captive in their home and refused to let them leave and did some pretty disturbing things. Well, there has been a resolution of sorts in the case, and we're going to take a look at this article here. But first, a word from our sponsor. You might have heard in the news that President Trump has pulled 2,000 of our boys and girls out of Syria. Just a while ago, he took an 11-hour flight in total darkness and secrecy to go out to Iraq with the First Lady and visit the troops there. "We are no longer the suckers, folks," was his storming declaration. With President Trump, you get what you see, and that's what we love about him. He delivers, and so does Noble Gold. They've put together this stunning solid silver coin to underline what a great job he's doing. With highlights of his achievements to date and a portrait on the front, any Trump supporter would be crazy about one of these. Go to www.trumpcoin2020.com and use the code REDPILL to get free shipping, a value of $6.50. Go to trumpcoin2020.com and use the code REDPILL to get free shipping on your order. All right, thank you very much. I want to thank Noble Gold for sponsoring this program. The parents in the House of Horrors case have pled guilty and face life in prison. David and Louise Turpin, the California parents accused of holding 12 of their children captive, have pled guilty to charges of child endangerment, torture, dependent adult abuse, and false imprisonment. The two face a maximum sentence of life in prison with the possibility of parole, according to news reports. Sentencing for the two is slated for April 19th. There's David Turpin right there with his weird haircut. Looks like little Lord Fauntleroy, somebody from Knights of the Round Table, maybe. The two entered pleas of 14 charges at the Riverside County Superior Court on February 22nd, CBS News reported. The Turpins are accused of keeping their kids shackled to beds in their home in Paris. They also gave them little food and didn't allow them to shower often, only once a year. They are accused of abusing 12 of their 13 children in the so-called House of Horrors case. Only their 2-year-old was spared, according to officials. And there is the mother, and there is the father again. Their 17-year-old daughter escaped their home and called 911 in January 2018, leading to their arrests. When officials arrived on the scene, they discovered severely underweight children and adults living in the home. The house was so filthy and reeked of human waste. Officials also discovered the children were starved, beaten, and put in cages. Some showed signs of stunted growth and atrophying muscles. Wow, there's the house right there. It's not what you would expect. This is among the worst, most aggravated child abuse case I have ever seen, District Attorney Mike Hestron told CNN. Hestron said that if the case went to trial, some of the victims would testify. An attorney for David Turpin declined to comment, and a lawyer for Louise Turpin also wouldn't issue a statement, according to CNN. Hestron told NBC San Diego that their guilty pleas were instrumental in protecting the children from having to relive their experiences in captivity and testify in court. Those pleas will result in life sentences. They're going to serve an intermediate sentence of 25 years to life unless the parole board at some point affirmatively decides they should be released, should they serve the rest of their lives in prison, he said to USA Today. Hestron said that defendants who are older than 60 automatically get parole hearings after serving 25 years behind bars. Hestron said the children are uniformly pleased that they would not have to testify. The attention that they would have had to go through, the scrutiny they would have had to go through, I think made this case much different than other child abuse cases, he added. In a recording of the 911 call played in court last year, the girl who escaped said 2 younger sisters and a brother were chained to their beds and she couldn't take it any longer, according to the AP. "They will wake up at night and they will start crying, and they wanted me to call somebody," she said in a high-pitched voice. "I wanted to call y'all so y'all can help my sisters." The intervention by authorities marked a new start for the 13 Turpin offspring who lived in such isolation that the teen who called for help didn't know her address, and some of her siblings didn't even understand the role of the police. The intervention of authorities marked a new start for the 13 Turpin offspring who lived in such isolation that the teen who called for help didn't know her address, and some of her siblings didn't even understand the role of the police when they arrived at the house. 2 girls, 11 and 14, had been hastily released from their chains when police showed up, but a 22-year-old son remained shackled. The young man said he and his siblings had been suspected of stealing food and being disrespectful, a detective testified. The man said he had been tied up with ropes at first and then, after learning to wriggle free, restrained with increasingly larger chains on and off for 6 years. The kids were rarely allowed outside, even though they went out on Halloween and traveled as a family to Disneyland in Las Vegas, investigators said. The children spent most of their time locked in their rooms, except for limited meals or using the bathroom. All right, this is just incredible. We are going to take a look at some additional reporting on this story. But first, here is David Turpin's mugshot. And here is his wife, Louise. The look in both their faces just screams insanity. Article. Now, in a 5 Facts article from Heavy, this is on David and Louise Turpin. There they are. That they almost don't even look like the same people. It's very weird. David Allen Turpin and Louise Anna Turpin, a former California engineer, and his homemaker wife are accused of what a prosecutor called human depravity against their 13 children for allegedly torturing their offspring in a house of horrors by chaining them to beds in a dark and foul-smelling... By chaining them to their beds... David Allen Turpin and Louise Anna Turpin, a former California engineer, and his homemaker wife, are accused of what a prosecutor called human depravity against their 13 children, with allegedly torturing their offspring in a house of horrors by chaining them to beds in dark and foul-smelling surroundings, starving them for years, and subjecting them to beatings and even strangulation. The chilling accusations of abuse emerged after one of the teenagers, a 17-year-old girl who was so emaciated she looked aged 10, staged a courageous attempt by climbing through a window, executing a plan she'd crafted with her siblings for 2 years, Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestrin said in a January 18, 2018 press conference. Hestrin released a series of monstrously chilling details in the case. He alleges that the parents would place apple pies on the counter, but deny their children, some of whom were adults, food, even as they ate it themselves. As a result, their oldest child, a 29-year-old female, is only 82 pounds, he said. The children had never been to the dentist and were subjected to an environment of such intense control that they were not released from their chains, even to go to the bathroom. They weren't allowed to shower more than once a year and were denied toys that were strewn around the home unopened and were only awake at night, the DA alleged. Wow. One victim at one point was tied up and hogtied, and then when the victim was able to escape the ropes, the defendants eventually began using chains and padlocks to chain up the victims to their beds. The Paris, California couple ran a day school out of their home and were beset with financial problems in recent years, but authorities say the children lacked even the most basic knowledge of life. Some of those chained up are adults. The couple's 13 children ranged in age from 2 to 29, and formal charges were filed on January 18th. The escaping teenager used a deactivated cell phone she found in the home to call 911, authorities said, describing a real-life tale almost reminiscent of Flowers in the Attic, in which children were kept from the outside world. Some people who knew the family, including the Elvis impersonator who helped them renew their vows in 2016, said that nothing seemed amiss at the time, although they were a memorable family due to their size and matching clothing. However, some neighbors described the Turpins as the vampire family because they were so pale and seemed to emerge only at night. Another neighbor claimed the family were hoarders when they lived in Texas. Authorities confirmed that the nocturnal family would stay up all night and sleep all day. And here's what we need to know. Authorities were shocked that some of the emaciated children who often wore matching clothing were adults, and photos show the Turpins at Disneyland. Some people just do not deserve to be parents. The obvious question after hearing so many disturbing accusations is why? Why would parents subject their children to such alleged horrors? Hestrin, the DA, said he could not answer that question, and he said there was no evidence that religion or a cult played a role. However, the family members defined the couple through their religious faith, and a Texas friend of some of the children, Ashley Vineyard, alleged to the Daily Mail that she remembers seeing religious material on the floors, stuff like preparing for Armageddon. It looked like a cult house. It was kind of scary. David and Louise Turpin are considered a good Christian family in their community, David Turpin's parents, who live in West Virginia, insisted to ABC News. The network added that the grandparents can't understand any of this. They claim the Turpins had so many offspring because God called on them. What I want to know is, if the grandparents were alive, how could they not realize that something was amiss? I don't understand that at all, so I don't know if I believe that. It's a very serious case, David Turpin's attorney said after the parents' first court hearing, adding that he might ask for a bail hearing for the father. What we would like the public to know is that our clients are presumed innocent. We are going to provide a vigorous defense. The case will be tried in court. It will not be tried in the media, he said. David and Louisiana Turpin, the California parents accused of torturing their 13 children, have been arraigned in court, and their bail has been set at $12 million each. Good. Authorities, though, said that the children were starved and abused since at least 2010. Authorities confirmed that the Turpin children were homeschooled, but Hestron said they were so lacking of basic knowledge about life that one didn't know what a police officer was, and another didn't understand the meaning of the words pills and medication. David Turpin is 56, according to jail records, and his wife, Louise Turpin, is 49. The parents were confronted by authorities at their home and taken into custody, according to the news release. Hestron said they had managed to unshackle 2 children while police officers stood at the door. An 11 and 14-year-old were unchained as the police stood at the door, while a 22-year-old remained chained to a bed when the police entered the home. In his press conference on January 16th, authorities repeatedly praised the courage and bravery of the 17-year-old girl who escaped from the home, also describing the situation in stark terms. The children were malnourished. It was very dirty and the conditions were horrific, said Riverside County Sheriff's Captain Greg Fellows. Some neighbors told UK Mirror they periodically saw the children scavenging in bins, looking for food when they weren't memorizing lengthy Bible passages. The people discovered inside the home were so emaciated that deputies assumed they were all children at first, even though it later turned out that one was 29 years old and others were also adults, a law enforcement press release says. However, some neighbors expressed shock, with one telling the Press Enterprise newspaper that he didn't even realize there were children inside the residence. The press release described the daring escape. Early Sunday morning on January 14, 2018, a 17-year-old juvenile escaped from her residence situated in the 100 block of Muir Woods Road, Paris, and managed to call 911 from a cellular device she found inside the house. The abuse and neglect intensified over time and intensified as they moved to California, Hestron alleged, adding that another sibling initially left with the teenager who alerted authorities but became too frightened and turned back. The horrors might have continued were it not for the teenager who managed to escape from the home, spurring the rescue, according to the sheriff's department. She showed photos to deputies that convinced them her story was real. Deputies located what they believed to be 12 children inside the house, but were shocked to discover that 7 of them were actually adults, ranging in age from 18 to 29. The 13th child is the one who alerted authorities. Paris is a community near Riverside, California that is about 1 hour from Los Angeles. The couple shared a joint Facebook page. Most photos showed them with an infant or together, including renewing their vows with an Elvis impersonator. Several photos showed all of the children, sometimes wearing matching clothing. The children do not look emaciated in the photos, although all of the photos are at least more than a year old. Beautiful picture, 12 and one more. I think it is called The Dirty Dozen, a family member wrote under the picture. Wow. Those poor kids. And these people are not Christian. Friends made typical comments on photos as if the family was a loving one. Is okay, you guys look like you're having just as much fun as the kids, wrote one friend on a photo of the couple at Disneyland. Another wrote, I watched your wedding video. It was great. Your children are so well behaved. I am so proud of you, Louise and David. You have a great family. And there's a video that's been removed. The Turpins' cover photo showed the children in matching purple dresses with the smallest child in front. It was posted in July 2016, and the children appear normal in it. There are no new public photos of the family since July 2016. The photos show that 9 of the older children are girls. Oh, God, which one is the... So that must be the 29-year-old? Oh, my God. These kids. These poor kids. Beautiful family, a friend commented on one family photo. Other photos showed an infant child on Santa's lap and the children posing with Mickey Mouse and other Disney characters. One of the Facebook page's few likes was for Disney Radio. The family was so obsessed with the theme park that they even had personalized Disneyland license plates. According to Kent Ripley, the Las Vegas entertainer and Elvis impersonator who was present when the Turpins renewed their vows, there seemed to be nothing amiss. He said the couple renewed their vows at the Elvis Chapel at least 3 times, including for their 30th wedding anniversary. He has not seen the family since 2016, he said. He described the allegations as shocking. Through the years, I actually remember them very well, Ripley said in an interview with Heavy.com. It's not every day you meet a family with 12 or 13 kids. He said the couple had 11 children the first time he met them, but the family kept growing. They were unique because of the size of the family. The Brady Bunch times 2 plus 1, he said, of the first time he met them. They seemed to enjoy themselves as a family. They seemed to get along, and the children were well behaved. He said the children definitely were skinny, but seemed to be active and always going places and doing stuff. I do remember they were taught at home. They were homeschooled. David had a fairly decent job to support this family. He was a hard worker. According to Ripley, the children all dressed alike, and the boys had the same bowl-like haircut as their father. I joked to him about being a Beatles fan and having a Beatles haircut, said Ripley. They seemed to enjoy each other, he said of the family. I'm speechless. I hope the kids are okay. David seemed to be very much caring for the kids and his wife. The couple's 30th wedding anniversary was in 2015, which would have made Louise Turpin around 17 when she married David Turpin. The Turpins previously declared bankruptcy, and David Turpin worked for a defense contractor. Wow. Look how skinny they all are. So the tallest ones must be the adults. The family had lived in the city of Paris since 2014 and previously lived in Texas for 17 years and Murrieta, California, authorities said. In Texas for a time, the parents even lived apart from most of their children, Hestron said, and they would visit the children periodically to bring food. David Turpin did have a job. He was employed. They did have money coming in. They bought a lot of toys that they never opened. They bought food that they ate and didn't share with their children, Hestron said. He alleged that the parents would apparently buy food for themselves and not allow the children to eat it, including apple pies and pumpkin pies. He said they would leave the pies on the counter for the children to look at, but not eat. Court records show the Turpins declared bankruptcy in 2011. Here are the documents, if you guys want to check these out after this. At the time of the bankruptcy, the couple was living in Murrieta, California. Although they had a lot of mouths to feed, the court records indicate that David Turpin earned more than $11,000 a month working as an engineer for Northrop Grumman, a global security company in San Diego. He also received Quicksilver royalties, the court records showed. It's not clear where Turpin was working at the time of his arrest. However, the family was struggling with credit card and other debt, including from a farm foreclosure in 2011, the records show. David Turpin listed a 401k from Lockheed Martin as an asset. It had more than $80,000 in it. The couple's bankruptcy attorney, Ivan Trahan, told the New York Times that the couple spoke often and highly about their children and that they had 12 at the time of the filing. The Los Angeles Times reported that the couple also had a second bankruptcy filing. In 2011, Louise Turpin appears to have written on a comment thread on the couple's Facebook page, David is working at Northrop again. We are doing good, and we really like it here. It will be 2 years in June we moved here. Medical professionals said in a press conference that in cases of starvation, it's important to ease back into nourishment and describe the children as friendly and cooperative, adding that for those over 18, it was hard to think of them as adults because they are very small. They are now in a safe environment and hopeful about the future, officials said. The teenager claimed her 12 brothers and sisters were being held captive inside the residence by her parents, and further claimed some of her siblings were bound with chains and padlocks. According to Hestron, the children suffered severe caloric malnutrition associated with muscle wasting. He said that one of the children, at age 12, is the weight of an average 7-year-old. Several of the victims have cognitive impairment and nerve damage due to extreme and prolonged physical abuse, alleged the DA. A childhood friend who knew the family in Texas told the UK Daily Mail that he found that they found a kitten thrown away in a dumpster when the family moved, and described finding dogs eating dirty diapers inside the home and empty Vienna sausage cans strewn around. Oh my God. The family's home registers to a day school, and neighbors said the family endured a military-style existence, awakening only at night. State Department of Education records document a day school at the Turpin address called Sandcastle Day School. The records list David Turpin as the school's principal and say it is a private K-12 school. Fellows said authorities have no evidence to show that the school educated anyone other than the Turpins' own children, but the investigation is ongoing. One of the older children, a boy, was allowed to attend college classes for a time, Hestrin said. What we know so far is that Louise Turpin would accompany him, wait outside the classroom for him. When he was finished with class, she would take him home, alleged Hestrin. This is severe emotional and physical abuse. This is depraved conduct. He said only the 2-year-old appeared to be properly nourished. The children endured a bizarre existence, reports said. A former neighbor told UK Daily Mail that the children were frequently taken out late at night by their parents and endured a military-style existence at home that allegedly included the robotic children marching in circles around an upstairs bedroom for hours at a time. The children spoke together in unison, and as a result, his wife called the children the clones, the neighbor told Daily Mail. Hestrin, the prosecutor, said that all 13 victims and the parents would typically go to sleep around 4 or 5 in the morning, sleep all day, and then are up all through the night. According to Fellows, there were 3 individuals that were chained to some type of furniture inside the residence. Authorities said that there was no indication of mental illness at this time. However, the children's aunt, Elizabeth Jane Flores, now claims the dad would creepily watch her in the shower when she lived with the family for a short time. Hestrin said the lewd act charge against David Turpin derives from accusations that he touched one of the victims in a lewd way. An Excel spreadsheet posted by the State Education Department shows that the school most recently had an enrollment of 6 children. It lists a child each in grades 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 12. The school graduated 1 student and was listed as non-religious. James and Betty Turpin, the grandparents, told ABC News that they hadn't seen their son and daughter-in-law since visiting them in California some 4 to 5 years ago, adding that when they spoke with the family by phone, the Turpins were generally without their children. Betty Turpin told CNN that the couple dressed their children in matching clothes for safety reasons, adding they were very protective of the kids. According to CNN, the couple would line the children up according to age, and the parents took their positions at the front and back of the line, Betty Turpin said. Once authorities arrived at the home, they noticed that there was truth to the statement of the escaping teen, the press release indicates. Further investigation revealed several children shackled to their beds with chains and padlocks in dark and foul-smelling surroundings, but the parents were unable to immediately provide a logical reason why their children were restrained in that manner, the release alleges. A neighbor, Wendy Martinez, told NBC News Los Angeles that the children looked very unnutritioned, very white. They never got sun at all. I mean, they would never come out, and when they did, the lady would stand there watching them. A friend called Louise Turpin a supermom, but the children were only allowed to write in journals and were punished if they washed their hands above the wrist, officials allege. In 2012, a friend wrote on the Turpins' Facebook page, "Louise Turpin is a supermom. I really couldn't have handled it. I kept busy from morning until night with my 4. Another friend wrote, "Blown away how I have my hands full with just one, and look at you." However, sheriff's officials say they found the children in an extreme state of need. The victims appeared to be malnourished and very dirty. Paris Station detectives were dispatched to the residence for further investigation, authorities reported. Hestrin alleged that the only thing the children were allowed to do was write in journals, and he says the authorities have hundreds of them and they are currently viewing them. It appeared that no one noticed what was happening, said Hestrin. One of the reasons for these punishments of being chained up to a bed, if the children were found to wash their hands above the wrist, they were accused of playing in the water, and they would be chained up, alleged the DA. Adding, the punishments included frequent beatings and even strangulation. All 13 victims, ranging from age 2 to 29, were transported to the Paris station and interviewed. Both parents were detained and transported to the station for further investigation, reported sheriff's officials. CPS and Adult Protective Services, CPS and APS arrived to assist in the investigation. The victims were provided with food and beverages after they claimed to be starving. According to the Press Enterprise, neither parent has a serious criminal history in California. Authorities confirmed that there was no call history to law enforcement to the home before. Social Services is now seeking court authorization to have oversight over the care of the children, including the adults if necessary. A neighbor in Texas told WFAA that the family were hoarders and they moved themselves out of the house and moved into a mobile home that they had there when they lived in that state. She never allowed the children to go outside and play. They homeschooled every one of them, and one day they just up and left, the neighbor told WFAA, adding that she found vents in the closet, making her wonder if the couple's children were locked in the closet. A neighbor says the mother was smirking and spitting when arrested, and prosecutors are requesting $13 million bail each. A shocked neighbor told UK Mirror that Louise Turpin was just coughing, acting a little weird, just kept looking when the police arrived. Police officer kept talking and she kept just smirking and kind of she spit twice down on the floor, alleged the neighbor to the British news site. In a January 16th news conference, authorities said the mother seemed perplexed when deputies arrived. Louise Turpin was captured smiling during the couple's first court hearing. Showing how seriously the system is taking this case, the bail for each parent was initially set at $9 million, and authorities are now seeking $13 million bail each. Both parents were interviewed in this matter and subsequently transported to the Robert Penley Detention Center. They were booked for violations of California Penal Code Section 206, torture, and Section 237A, child endangerment. Louise Turpin is from a religious family. Louise's sister traveled with Pioneers for Christ and ministered internationally, according to a website for her. It reports that she was raised in West Virginia in a family of 6 and is an author. As a prosecutor, there are cases that stick with you, that haunt you. Sometimes in this business we are faced with looking at human depravity, and that's what we're looking at here, said Hestron. It is so completely amazing to me that these people were not discovered to be doing these things sooner. These poor kids, they're never going to be right. They're going to be disturbed for the rest of their lives, if not just messed up because of the torture that they received. I mean, mentally, physically, I don't know that they're ever going to recover. And I don't know that they're ever going to be able to be fully functioning members of society. You only have so much time as you're growing and as your brain is developing to learn how to do certain things. You know, I think that they are going to be very lucky if they can live a normal life. So it's very sad. Now, you know, I hope that this story wasn't too much of a downer. I think that this is very important because it just makes me think, how often does this happen? How many other families are out there that live in these type of circumstances? You know, I was talking with some friends the past couple of days about, the people in the cabal. The people who have been raised in that environment, okay? If you are raised in an environment of evil and, torture, how do you know anything else? How do you know that there is another way to live? If you are lied to about God, if you are lied to about what it means to be a Christian, then how do you know? I think that they probably, obviously had some understanding that something wasn't right, but they really had no idea of how bad it was. Now that they are out in the real world, these kids, it probably gets harder for them every day, realizing how much time they've lost and how despicable the treatment that they underwent was. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but I just know from personal experience that it's difficult to understand certain, perspectives unless you've lived them. These children are very lucky to have been rescued from this situation, and my thoughts and prayers are with them. And now, also from Heavy.com, 5 fast facts you need to know about the Turpin family children. Here they are again. Looks like they are on another Disney excursion. The 13 children of David and Louise Turpin were rescued by police after one child, a 17-year-old female, was able to escape out a window and use a deactivated cell phone to call 911. The children, who ranged in age from 2 to 29, had been living in their parents' home in Paris, California, but authorities said there was evidence that the Turpin siblings had been shackled to furniture and living in filthy condition. Now, of course, none of those children's names have been released, but all 13 children were taken to nearby hospitals, and staff members were reduced to tears upon seeing them. Upon being found by law enforcement, the children were taken to nearby hospitals for physical evaluations. 7 of the Turpin siblings, 5 girls and 2 boys aged 18 to 29, were taken to the Corona Regional Medical Center. Upon arrival, the medical staff believed they were tending to children rather than adults because they all had severe developmental issues. It's that profound when you see what they're going through. How does this happen? The hospital's CEO and Chief Managing Director Mark Uffer told ABC News. When we first saw them, everybody thought they were children, Uffer said, adding that he and his staff had never seen abuse of this magnitude. The children were visibly malnourished, each with pale skin and muscle atrophy, which has seriously impacted their cognitive and physical development. The children were visibly malnourished, each with pale skin and muscle atrophy, which has seriously impacted their cognitive and physical development. This doesn't happen over 3 months or 6 months. When you see malnutrition in people, it's years, Uffer explained. Several of the children have also suffered nerve damage. According to the report, those 7 children are currently listed in stable condition but have not been cleared to leave the hospital. They are being kept together in the same unit in an attempt to recreate a family environment as they undergo physical, psychiatric, cognitive, and mental evaluations by a team of doctors in the coming days. The hope is to get all of the siblings to a place where they can go live on to live healthy lives. The hospital is currently working with Adult Protective Services, but they are in no rush to push them out the door, Uffer said. Law enforcement officials told NBC that the Turpin children were only allowed 1 meal per day and 2 showers per year. Living conditions at the Turpin home were unacceptable, according to the information that law enforcement provided. The 13 children were found amongst their own urine and feces, their residence termed a house of horrors by the media. 3 of the children were shackled when police arrived at the home. Authorities said that 2 of the children were unchained by their parents before police entered the home, but the 22-year-old was still chained to a bed. Authorities investigating the case revealed that this began as some kind of punishment, and that David and Louise Turpin would use ropes to tie up the children. After one of the children escaped, they began using the chains and padlocks. The punishments would last for weeks or even months at a time, Riverside County District Attorney Michael Hestrin explained. He added that the punishments often included frequent beatings and even strangulation. The children were not permitted to play with toys, and they were locked in different rooms and not always allowed to go to the bathroom. The oldest Turpin sibling has posed most concerns. The oldest Turpin child, a 29-year-old woman, is the most concerning to doctors. Because of a lack in development, the woman, whose name has not been released, looked like she was only 13 or 14 years old. Riverside County District Attorney Michael Hestrin said she weighed just 82 pounds. It is hard to think of some of these people as adults, as they are so malnourished. They are stable and being fed. They are comfortable and in a safe and secure environment. They have gone through a very traumatic ordeal. They are very friendly and cooperative, and hopeful life will get better for them after this event. They previously lived in Murrieta, California, and in Texas, and they were homeschooled, as we've learned before. There's some pictures of the inside of their home. Filthy. And someone said, this is the family's neighbor, I ended up calling the police because of trash and everything that was left there. There was a brand new pickup truck, covered in trash. A whole truck bed full and overflowing to the ground with trash. Diapers, Spam cans, potted meat cans, just overflowing, the family's Texas neighbor Randy McLean had told the New York Post. In 2013, the Turpins moved to Murrieta, California, before relocating to Paris the following year. Their neighbors, past and present, have spoken to the media about their experiences with them. They thought they were a cult. They would see them marching back and forth inside the home. And It was said that my wife called them clones. They spoke robotically in a monotone and at the same time, he added. A neighbor by the name of Andrea Valdez describes the Turpins as the vampire family because they only came out at night. But no one ever called the police on the Turpins. Not one person called. How sad, Mary Parks, Senior Public Information Specialist for the Riverside County Department of Public Social Services, said. All 13 children were homeschooled. David and Louise Turpin are facing life in prison. They were charged with torture and child endangerment. 10 felony counts each. Riverside County District Attorney Michael Hestron announced Thursday that Louisiana Turpin and David Allen Turpin have been hit with an array of charges, including torture, child abuse, false imprisonment, and a lewd act on a child by force, fear, or duress. They could each face sentences of 94 years to life in prison. And family members are shocked. They were just like any ordinary family, and they had good relationships. I'm not just saying this stuff. These kids, we were amazed. They were sweetie this and sweetie that to each other. It's hard to believe all of this. Over the years, the Lord knows what happened, David Turpin's 81-year-old mother, Betty, told CNN. Well, where are the children now? The Turpin children are said to be thriving these days, less than 4 months after being rescued from their parents' house of horrors. All 13 children are readjusting to normal life after they were found living in unthinkable conditions. Police arrived at the Turpins' home in Paris, California back in January after the 17-year-old daughter was able to escape and call 911. Almost all of the children, who ranged in age from 2 to 29 at the time, were malnourished. Authorities said that there was evidence the siblings had been shackled to furniture and living in filthy conditions. In March 2018, posted an update by CNN, it was reported that some of the Turpin children, 6 are minors and 7 are adults, were hospitalized for about 2 months. However, they have all been released from the hospital and are enjoying things like music, movies, and cooking, many of which they started experiencing while under the care of medical professionals. The siblings ended up getting very attached to staff, so seeing them leave the medical facility was bittersweet. There were some tears flowing both from the staff and the Turpin children. They said they loved us. They were going to miss us. They hope to see us soon. We're hopeful that they can now learn a lot of life skills, from shopping for groceries to cooking. For all the things they have allegedly been done to them, they still have the capacity to love and trust people who have been good to them. Their spirit has not been crushed. On behalf of all of us at CRMC, we wish these brave siblings continued strength as they take their next steps in their journey. The 7 adult siblings are living together at this time, but the 6 younger siblings have been split up, 2 and 4, because no home was able to accommodate all 6 children, a source previously told CNN. The siblings are learning how to live normal lives and have also been receiving individual attention and education. Their education was non-existent. The 17-year-old who escaped has a first-grade level education. According to People magazine, each adult sibling now has his or her own bedroom. They are experiencing freedom and privacy and are making decisions on their own. The adult siblings have been able to communicate with their younger brothers and sisters via Skype. The children all talk regularly via Skype. They are happy to be in another place. It is quite extraordinary for them to have some freedom, really for the first time, and experience life outside the type of constraints they had experienced. David and Louise Turpin have pled not guilty to charges including torture, child abuse, and false imprisonment. Some of the Turpin children might testify against their parents, but we know now that they don't have to. In my mind, and it's a lot about what I talked about today, in any child abuse case, it's very common for a victim or witness to testify. So we have to do the best we can to make that as comfortable as we can for the victims of our crime, and our victims' advocates go a long way in doing that. But yes, it's our intent to put them on the stand. Thank God they didn't have to. Now we're going to watch a video update from the Turpin children.
She is the brave 17-year-old who escaped from the House of Horrors and called 911, leading to the rescue of her 12 starving siblings.
It's me, and this is soccer. It's over.
These never-before-seen videos come from a secret YouTube account she kept during her time in captivity.
I will not go back alive. I will stay until I die.
The pretty teenager, we're concealing her identity because she is a minor, is singing songs she composed herself. Together, they tell a heartbreaking story with titles like Where is the Key? You Blame Me, and Give Me One More Chance.
This is a song I wrote about 2 years ago and it's called So Weak.
But she proved to be anything but weak, escaping through a window on January 14th and raising the alarm. Just 7 days before her flight, she posted this video, a song called What's Wrong With Me, with poignant lyrics. The videos, first unearthed by Good Morning America, also offer a glimpse inside the House of Horrors. As the 17-year-old plays with her dog, Sandy, you can see a grimy carpet and a pile of dirty clothes. The House of Horrors parents, 56-year-old David Turpin and 49-year-old Louise, are facing life in prison. They have pled not guilty to child abuse, torture, and false imprisonment. Because of the courage of this teen, she and her brothers and sisters are discovering a brave new world.
Hello everyone, it's me, and this is the song I wrote. It's over.
Incredible. Incredible. The 17-year-old daughter of David and Louise Turpin had a secret YouTube channel that she would upload videos to while she was held captive in her parents' home. The teen can be seen singing in one video and playing with the family's dog in another. According to ABC News, the teen produced and posted self-made videos to YouTube under an alias. The outlet also reports that the teen had an Instagram account in which she posted selfies and included some photos of Justin Bieber. Her most recent YouTube video was uploaded just 1 week before she and her siblings were saved. While these videos and photos appear to be normal on the surface, that is, they depict a female teenager doing the same thing as any other teen might do, the world knows the deeper, darker story about what was going on inside the Turpins' House of Horrors. The teen in the video, whose name has not been released, was the Turpin child who was able to escape from the home and notify authorities of the unimaginable situation that had been going on for years. Now, here is a report from ABC News showing the inside of the home. This is the inside of their Texas home.
The 13 siblings allegedly held captive and tortured by their own parents. And tonight, right here for the first time, the images from inside one of the homes where the family once lived and what they reveal. And tonight, our Matt Gutman with the doctors now treating the children, what we now know about their conditions.
Tonight, new images of the squalid home the Turpin family left in Texas years ago, showing the stomach-turning interior, walls smeared with human filth, that slime-rimmed tub. Images like these are part of a mountain of evidence California prosecutors are pouring through, which they say could lead to even more charges against David and Louise Turpin.
Doesn't sound like punishment, it sounds like sadistic torture.
The parents already facing life in prison if convicted, accused of starving and torturing their children. They pleaded not guilty.
It feels from our perspective that we're looking into a pit and we don't know where the bottom is.
Their doctors say the siblings' physical condition is slowly improving, but they suffered years of near total isolation.
Much of what you're doing now is sort of teaching them social behavior.
We are the first stage of their introduction to the outside world.
They're now tended to by a hand-picked team that is touched by what they're seeing.
They will hopefully go on in life and they'll have great lives. It would be nice to see that.
David and hospital staff tell me that nearly every time they leave that ward, they weep. And just over the past 24 hours, people have been dropping off the kinds of toys that those siblings had been deprived of for all those years. And in fact, donations are piling up, including a number of support funds for those siblings, now worth over $100,000. David.
All right, Matt Gutman, our thanks to you from California again tonight. And Matt, along with extraordinary access to the...
The Turpin children have been taken out of the home and, of course, on the road to recovery. This was written before they left the hospital. But they were starting to make plans for their future. Their minds are just beginning to open to having a choice and not being controlled. The young child victims are getting up and making the day happen for themselves, getting out of bed and deciding what they want to eat. They're starting from very elementary stuff, but have progressed very, very well, Corona Mayor Karen Spiegel told ABC News. Well, I think that we're going to leave it at that. I want to make sure that this ends on a high note. I'm very happy to learn that the Turpin children are doing so well. I did not think that this was going to be possible, but it's incredible that they're still able to trust people I don't know. I don't know many people who would have that level of trust after living through a situation like that. I want to wish everyone a happy Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I am Red Pill 78, the corruption detector, and this was your Red Pill News for Sunday, February 24th. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.